How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. By Bill Gates. A plan for getting to zero. To avoid a climate catastrophe, rich countries should reach net zero emissions by 2050. But how do we get there? 2030 is not realistic for deep decarbonization. But we can adopt policies to put us on a path to deep decarbonization by 2050. For example, replacing coal-fired power plants with gas-fired ones might reduce emissions of carbon dioxide. But any gas plants built between now and 2030 will still be in operation come 2050. Investing in long-term climate solutions. Climate change is an urgent issue that requires immediate action. We need to start investing in long-term solutions now. If we only focus on reducing emissions by 2030, we'll miss the bigger picture. We need to set ourselves up for long-term success by pursuing zero-carbon electricity and electrifying as widely as possible. This might not deliver immediate results, but it's crucial for achieving zero emissions by 2050. We need to look beyond just reducing emissions and focus on the countries that are setting themselves up for long-term success. We need to avoid repeating the mistakes of pandemic preparation with climate change. Starting now and investing in science and innovation is crucial for achieving long-term success. Innovation and the law of supply and demand. Innovation is not just about inventing new machines. It's also about new approaches to business models, supply chains, markets, and policies. To deal with climate change, we need many different disciplines. Climate science tells us why, but we need economics, engineering, and other sciences to know how. Innovation is about expanding the supply of new ideas and accelerating the demand for them. Both work hand in hand in a push-and-pull fashion. Without demand for innovation, inventors and policymakers won't have any incentive to push out new ideas. Without a steady supply of innovations, buyers won't have the green products the world needs to get to zero. The Gates Foundation's approach to saving lives is based on pushing innovation for the poor while also increasing demand for it. At Microsoft, we created a research group to increase the supply of innovations. Innovation is not just a matter of new devices but also new ways of doing things. It's about expanding the supply of ideas and accelerating the demand for them. Expanding the supply of innovation. Innovation is key to achieving zero emissions globally. But we still need more technologies to make this happen. Governments can play a crucial role in supporting research and development. We need to quintuple clean energy and climate-related R&D over the next decade. We also need to make bigger bets on high-risk, high-reward R&D projects. And match R&D with our greatest needs. The U.S. Department of Energy's Sunshot Initiative is a great example of how this can work. By integrating basic and applied research, they drove down the cost of solar energy to 6 cents per kilowatt-hour within the decade. To expand the supply of innovation, we need to work with industry from the beginning. By collaborating with private companies, universities, and national laboratories, we can make innovation more accessible. The proof phase. The demand for innovation in the energy sector is more complicated than the supply piece. It involves two phases, the proof phase and the scale-up phase. The proof phase is where good ideas go to die. It's where you find out whether an idea that worked in the lab still works under real-world conditions. Low-carbon technologies like carbon capture and sequestration, offshore wind, and meat alternatives are currently in the proof phase. But the risks that come with testing new products and introducing them in the market are simply too great. Governments can help energy startups make it out of the valley alive because they're massive consumers. They can use procurement power to drive emerging technologies into the market at relatively low cost.
Governments can also create incentives that lower costs and reduce risk. Tax credits, loan guarantees, and other tools can help reduce the green premiums and drive demand for new technologies.
Government policies should be technology neutral, predictable, and flexible to benefit any solutions that reduce emissions. This will help shape the way markets attract money for these projects. We need government involvement in building the necessary infrastructure. Transmission lines, charging stations, and pipelines are essential for getting new technologies to market. We also need new market rules that allow new technologies to be competitive. Outdated regulations hinder the adoption of low-carbon technologies like advanced biofuels and low-carbon concrete. The scale-up phase. Once the cost is low enough and consumers have shown interest, we can move to the scale-up phase. But scaling up won't be easy. We need to transform the way we make and grow things while continuing to deliver the roads, bridges, and food we all rely on. We can take lessons from the purposeful growth of fossil fuels and apply them to clean energy. We need to adopt clean energy technologies at the same rate we adopted color TVs and clothes dryers when they became available. Eliminating green premiums. A carbon price raises the cost of fossil fuels, which tells the market there will be extra costs associated with products that emit greenhouse gas emissions. Clean electricity standards allow any clean energy technology, including nuclear and carbon capture, to count toward meeting the standard. A clean fuel standard applied to the transportation sector would accelerate the deployment of low-carbon solutions like electric vehicles and advanced biofuels. California's low-carbon fuel standard and the U.S. renewable fuel standard provide models for reducing emissions from cars and buildings and power plants. By adopting these standards, we can reduce emissions, lower costs for consumers, and address climate change. Governments can set standards in their procurement programs and create labeling programs that give all buyers information about how clean different suppliers are. Retiring inefficient, fossil-fueled equipment is essential. Policy-based incentives can accelerate this process. Every national government needs to do three things. Make it a goal to get to zero, develop specific plans for meeting those goals, and fund research to make clean energy cheap.